Hi boys and girls, today we are going to be learning about retelling, and actually this is going to be a review because in the last lesson you retold a story that you heard, and I know that you probably started that lesson with a little review of a familiar story like the Three Little Pigs, for example. I'm sure that you can all tell me what happened in the Three Little Pigs. You can tell me what happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, and what happened in the end, because that's a story that you know very well. So when you retell that story, you only include the most important details. You're not telling me what the little pig was wearing. You're not telling me what the wolf was wearing. It really doesn't even matter what the wolf's names or the Three Little Pigs' names are, but you're just telling me the most important stuff that happened in the story. And that's what we do when we retell a story. We just tell you, or you just tell us the most important parts. Okay, so I made this anchor chart to kind of help you guys with retell, because in this lesson, you're going to be retelling a story that you read on your own. So it's going to be important that you include all of those important parts. So let's look at the chart together. First, when you retell, you describe what happens in a story in order. So it's really important when you're retelling that you put it in order. You don't want to tell me the ending before you tell me the beginning. That would ruin the story, and the story wouldn't make sense, or your retelling of the story wouldn't make sense. So we can kind of think of it like a road, okay? So we want to know what happened first. So when you're retelling, you start with what happened first and you tell me what happened in the beginning. So let's think about that story about the Three Little Pigs. What happened in the very beginning of the story? Well, the Three Little Pigs built their homes. One was made of straw, one was made of sticks, one was made of bricks. That's what happened in the beginning, okay? And then we move on to what happened next, what happened then. This is where we talk about the middle of the story. So in the middle of the story of the Three Little Pigs, after the Three Little Pigs built their houses of sticks and straw and bricks, then the big bad wolf came to the house of straw. He huffed and he puffed and he blew that house down. Then after, he went to the house made of sticks. And what did he do? He huffed and he puffed and he blew that house down. Okay, and then that's the middle of the story, right? Because that's what happened next. That's what happened then. And then we move on to what happened last, or what happened at the end. So after the Three Little Pigs blew down the house made of sticks, finally he went to the house made of bricks. And he tried to huff and puff, but he could not blow that house down, okay? Then after the end of the story, we're going to stop. That's the end of our retelling. We don't have to tell any more because the story is finished, okay? So just to review, when we're retelling a story, we talk about what happened first, and that's the beginning. Then we move on to what happened next, and then that's the middle of the story. Then we move on to what happened last. That's the end of the story. After we tell the end of the story, we stop. Okay, this might be clicking with you, or you might be being able to make a connection, because this looks a lot like our writing plan. So when we tell stories, or when we write stories, we always say what happened first, what happened next, what happened then, what happened last, or what happened finally. So that's exactly the same order that you retell a story in. What happened first, that's the beginning. What happened next and then, that's the middle. And what happened in the end, or last, that's the ending, and then we stop. Now when we retell, there's some key points that we want to make sure that we follow, or that we use. So first is we want to use our own words. When you're retelling a story, you don't just copy the book word for word, because there's going to be some details in the book that aren't important to retell the story. So you're going to use your own words and come up with your own sentences that tell the story. Just like I just did with the Three Little Pigs story. I didn't read that from a book. I came up with those words all by myself. Okay? Next, you want to use details. And we don't want to use all of the details. We only want to use the most important details. So I didn't talk about the first little pig building his house of straw and every step that he took, because that wasn't really important. I didn't talk about what pig number 2 was wearing, because that wasn't really important to the story. Okay, I didn't even really talk about what the big bad wolf looked like or acted like. I just told you the key parts of the story, And after I retold the story, you were able to know what happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, and what happened in the end. And that's what's most important with retell. We don't need to know all of the details, just the most important details. And I know you've already learned how to determine the most important details too. Right? And the last tip is to use words and pictures. So when you're retelling the story, you're definitely going to use words to tell us what happened, but you can also draw a picture of what happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, what happened in the ending, and sometimes that helps you come up with the words. After you draw a picture, it kind of helps you figure out what words should go with that picture. All right, boys and girls, so let's just review what we learned about retelling. Retelling is where we talk about what happened in the beginning. We talk about what happened next and then, that's the middle, and then we talk about what happened last, that's the ending. Then we stop, our retell is finished. We want to remember to use our own words, to use details from the story, and to use words and pictures to help retell our story. Right? In the next lesson or the next guided practice, we are going to be reading a story together called Violet the Pilot, and you are going to help me retell that story. And then at the end of this lesson, you're going to be reading a story on your own and retelling the most important details and what happened in the beginning, middle, and end of that story. All right, so please let your teacher know if you have any questions about retell or need any help, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you guys for watching. Bye, boys and girls.